So I'll get started, and please, everyone who is here, thank you very much for attending. I'll try and make this as brief but also as informative as possible. Just to give you a little bit of a background about PolicyMap, it is an easy-to-use mapping service with data on demographics, real estate, health, jobs, and information on communities across the United States. It's used in universities and colleges, it's used in business, it's used in government, and it's used a lot within the housing and urban development community as well. So one of the reasons that people are using it is that they're using it to do market studies or for business planning, for site selection, for grant applications, and also just to get data. And there is not only mapping functionality here within PolicyMap, but you do have the ability to go in and create tables, reports, 3-layer maps, and use a data loader to upload your own data. So I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're not using a mapping tool right now or any type of data visualization tool within your library? And you can answer me at any time, but a lot.
No, we don't.
Okay, great. So right now, PolicyMap has about 100 academic customers, and they range from the Ivy League schools to large public universities to small private schools to community colleges and then schools of public health. And they're using it across multiple disciplines. So it's not only for the geography department, it's for the social sciences, it's for journalism, social work, public health, economics, and political science. Really, there's many different applications for PolicyMap. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you a map. And I'm going to reset my map. So when you first enter into PolicyMap, you'll notice that there are, at the top of the page, you have the ability to create maps, tables, reports, 3-layer maps, and load data. And I mentioned that before. And the data is organized into different subject categories. So there's demographic data, and a lot of this data is data that's coming from the census and from ACS, and a lot of it is coming from other proprietary resources. So when you're looking at this, the demographic data, of course, is mostly coming from the census here. And when you look at any one of these specific indicators, the search is actually being done for the entire United States, but you can zero in on any location using this location toolbar at the top. And you can see that you can simply just add in, and it uses smart analysis to figure out what, as you start to type things in, what you're looking for. So if I want it to look for Broward County, I can zero in just to Broward County. If I want it to look for a specific zip code, I could go in and search by a specific zip code. And this allows me to really zero in either by a specific area or to zoom out to specific areas as well. So you'll notice you can zoom in and out, you can pan around and move around within the map. Hopefully I'm not making anyone dizzy right after lunch, but you get the idea of what's here. Okay. So there is demographic data. There is data on elections and voter turnout, information on religion and which religious bodies and what denominations are in a specific area. There's information on income and spending. So if you're looking for information about per capita income, people in poverty by specific race or ethnicity, by age. So I'm looking for people living in poverty over 65. I can pull this up and you can tell over here we have the ability to search by different ranges, and we can change those ranges and the colors as well. So if I wanted to switch the variables, I can also do this from the menu on this side. And I can decide how I want to shade it as well. If I click on any one of these areas, it's going to give me the data. So the percent of people 65 and older living in poverty for this census tract is quite high. It's 30%. And you can compare it to the United States and Florida. It's significantly higher. So you get the idea. Creating a map is really very simple. It's just a matter of finding what the data is that you're looking for. One of our specialties is food insecurity. PolicyMap is actually a service of Reinvestment Fund. And Reinvestment Fund is a community development financial institution in Philadelphia. And what they do is they make investments in projects that help underserved communities. So it might be bringing supermarkets to food deserts, or schools to areas without access to education, or it might be healthcare centers or affordable housing. So this is a tool that was developed by Reinvestment Fund to really find the hot spots and locate areas of interest for development. So you can see, a lot of the data really has a strong social and economic research bent, a lot to do with public policy and community development. So here, again, if I just want to look at something very specific, like median income, economic mobility, access to food, as we mentioned before, we can simply go in and choose whatever it is that we're looking for. So here, if I'm looking for location affordability, so the percent of income spent on housing and transportation in this area, it's 173 or 221% or more of their income. So very interesting. There's housing data. There is vacancy data. So if you wanted to see vacant properties, either residential or business properties, you can go in and once again pinpoint areas with a large percentage of vacancies. So this area right here, west of Plantation, above the Broward Mall, is 4.45%. So the Velasas data is actually interesting. If you're familiar with the flyers that you get in the mail, the Velasas company is the one that sends out those, and they actually track the ones that are delivered to places with a vacancy, and they collect that data and resell it. So that's one of our proprietary sources. We can also move here into quality of life. So there is some crime data from the FBI. There is information on access to broadband and the speed of access to the internet. There's transit access information, commute to work time. Let's see, what's the average travel time to work within your area? And I'll go into just Fort Lauderdale, the city. You'll notice that you can look at boundaries for 2000 and 2010. So if they've changed, you can actually look at those. And the majority of people within the Fort Lauderdale area don't have it that bad. So this group here has a 29-minute commute. This group here, 33-minute. And if you ever have questions about where the data is coming from, this is census data. It's all linked right here. But if I was looking at something more or something different, so if I was looking for wired broadband access, and I'm pretty sure you're in good shape, although there are some areas without access, you can see this data is coming from the FCC. Now we have a data team within PolicyMap, And once you are a customer, and truthfully, even if you aren't a customer, you get access to our data team, and they can give you information about how the data is collected and how often it's collected, and even help to explain the data to you. So our data team is there, and our help desk is there to help as well. So here you can see, you get the details, you get more information about how it's collected, and there is a complete data directory. Hopefully you've all had a bit of a chance to take a look at the data directory and to fool around a little bit within PolicyMap to get an idea of what the data is there and how simple it actually is to use. So here's economic data. And again, there's information about transportation and energy. There's data layers, and you'll notice there's also data points. So the data points are point level data that will give you actual addresses of, for instance, small business development centers, business incubators within your community, USDA spending, Small Business Administration spending, FEMA contracts and grants. We've recently added this information about structurally deficient bridges or functionally obsolete bridges, which is fascinating. And let's see, for your own safety, there is a structurally deficient bridge on City Street, Northeast 23rd Avenue, and it gives you condition, cost of improvements, when it was last inspected. So some interesting data. And if you wanted to, you could actually do a search on a specific region around here. How you can create a region. You can either draw it or have a radius or assemble a region. But if I'd wanted to draw a region, I could simply go in here and where's my start point? Let me see, South Florida. And within here, I can pull up a list of bridges within this region that I just created. So just an idea of how you can collect data or find data within a specific neighborhood or area or group. You can also assemble regions. Oops, you can, once you create a region, you can save it. And when you go in and assemble a region, you can do it by census tract, by block group, by county. So if I'd wanted to create a, let me see. If I'd wanted to create one, I could go in and choose, you know, maybe Broward. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies for that. I could look at Florida as a state, and maybe I'd want it to look at Miami-Dade, Broward, Collier, and Monroe County. And I can save that again as South Florida. Okay, so you get an idea of how you can do that. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to reset my map. And again, let's just go in down to the zip code level and take a look at the area around Nova Southeastern. Okay. Oop, that's not going to work. I need to put in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. And maybe I want to go in and I want to look at health data. I know that you have a number of schools within the healthcare industry, and I wanted to show you some of the data that's here. We do have data from the CDC, but also we have behavioral risk factors for health, and a lot of this data can be layered with other social indicators to see, some hotspots or areas of concern. So if I'd wanted to look for information on high blood pressure, flu activity, HIV diagnosis, cancer 65 and older, I can pull that out and I can zoom in or out. If I wanted to take a look at risk factors, so obesity rates, physical activity, fruit and vegetable consumption, alcohol and tobacco use, I can go ahead and choose any one of these. And once again, when I click on this, I can go in and it will give me the actual percentage or value for that area and give me the comparisons. Maybe I want to take a look at this and I want to see where the community health centers are and lookalikes within this area. And it allows me to go in and see where they are, and I can color code them by specific areas. So if I wanted to color code them by operating hours, whether or not they're a migrant health center, community health center, I can choose that option. And I'm not seeing a lot of community healthcare centers. I'm seeing some more inland, so closer to Fort Lauderdale. And when I click on any one of these data points, I'm able to go in and find all the data that underlying this, about this. And this data can be downloaded into spreadsheets. It can be brought into or saved on your maps. So it's really, there's a lot of underlying data here. And there's even links that come back out to where this data is coming from. So here, the CDC behavioral risk factor data, or we call it BRFIS, is actually data that was curated and was the PolicyMap data team worked with to add into PolicyMap and to break it down all the way down to the census tract level. So you can see some of these risk factors and where it's coming from and more information about it here. Now, if I wanted to save this or print this, there's a number of different things I can do. If I'd wanted to share this map with a colleague, I can email it, embed it, or link it to my social media. I can print it, and print actually allows you to do some really nice things. So you can change how it's being set up or what it looks like. You can add a title, you can change the title, you can decide whether or not to have the legend. And this was another enhancement that we recently had to PolicyMap. This feature was, the quality of the image has been greatly improved, and it's a very high quality, either PDF or PNG document. And this is some of the data that you can have included within papers or blogs or on your websites as well. And we do have information about how to cite that as well. You can save it. And another thing I should mention is for enterprise licenses, you have the ability for each user to have their own workspace. So if you're going to save this, save a region, save a map, save a report, each person can save it and it's not shared by everyone else. So there are individual logins or sub-accounts for everyone who's logging in. So that data is there, separated out. Okay, I'm going to peek, I haven't been looking. I just wanted to check and see. I wasn't really looking at the comments, and you're all so quiet out there that I wanted to make sure that you were all there. I'm glad you are. And if you do have any questions, just let me know. Jump on, unmute yourself, and let me know. Let me show you the tables. The tables is actually very interesting as well. And here, let's go in and take a look at, let's see. Let's look at the non-white population within South Florida or within the Fort Lauderdale area. And let's take a look at, let's see, grocery retail locations or fruit access to farmers markets. And we can see, I'm not seeing a lot. Here's one farmers market out here. And let's see, that is the Community Farmers Market of Plantation. Here's another one over here to the east of Pompano Beach. You can link out to their website from here. If you wanted to actually get a table of this data, you can pull it over. And first of all, we're looking at just the non-white population. If you wanted to see if this is growing or how it's changed, these tables, oops, let me see. We should be able to do this across years. I'm not sure why I'm having trouble right now. Why am I having trouble? Well, let's try something different then. Okay, so any one of these data sets that I have right here, I can go in and I can look at in a table. So if I'm just looking at density, or if I'm looking at the population 65 and older, and maybe I wanted to look at this for Broward. Here we go, that's it. And then maybe I wanted to look at it for Miami, Dade, and I want to look at it for, let me see, Monroe County. I can see the values for each one of those populations, for each one of those counties, and I can see rankings. I can pull that up. I can also see the data that includes all of the farmers markets. So there's 35 farmers markets in Miami-Dade, Florida. There's 1 in Monroe County. There's 9 in Broward County. And from here I can pull out a list, and I can see changes across years. And we can see the population of 65 and older is growing in Monroe, Florida. And it's pretty flat in Miami, growing a little, let me see, and it's a little bit flat in Broward as well. And as I mentioned before, you can pull out this and get a list. And you can download this list into spreadsheets. And it really doesn't take 15 minutes, but that's what it's going to tell us it's going to take, just as a warning. And it pulls it up in a CSV format. And you can download the data that's available here through PolicyMap into other services as well. Or I don't know if you're using something like ArcGIS, which is a very sophisticated mapping tool, or you can even just download it for your own reports. Okay. So what I would really, I'll be keeping this trial up for just a few more days so that you can all really poke around and take a look and see what's there. But I did want to show you, just the ability to download the data, create tables. And what I haven't shown you yet is reports. And reports are really, there's several different types of reports available through PolicyMap. There's a community profile report, which is by far the most popular and most used. There's also a rental housing report. There's a home mortgage disclosure report, a home sale report. And you can do a report for a predefined location, for a radius, for any one of your custom regions. So again, if I go back to your college address, not college, but university address, I'm sorry. I'm going to take a look at up to a 10-mile radius. We'll do a 10-mile radius around Fort Lauderdale, which will, I'm sure, here we go. Well, we're going out into the ocean a little bit there, but that's okay. And a lot of public libraries or universities use this data for their grant applications to quickly and easily pull up information about their area. Okay. And I'm looking at your questions then, Jay. I will get back to you in one part, or as soon as I'm finished showing you this. This report is a PDF report that can be downloaded and shared, but it's going to show really all the underlying data is pulled together into a report. So racial characteristics, age distribution, income data, how it's changing, and what the layout is, how it compares statewide, information about the family composition, housing types. 42% of the housing is in single-family detached homes. Vacancy data. Vacancies are down in South Florida. Employment data. Employment is up in South Florida. And this is added to PolicyMap. As soon as our data team does get this information, they clean it up and curate it and standardize it, and they pull it into PolicyMap. The breakdown of employment by industry, crime data. This is data is not as granular. It's actually just down to the city level. It's not down to the block level or zip level. And so you can look at crime trends. And there you see that you have a nice report that took about 2 seconds to create. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Let me go back to your question. Okay, so Jay, you want to know if you have illness data by census tract, can you add this data to the program? You absolutely can, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So it was a nice segue. Let me go back and let's go into Data Loader. So if you have a data set that you want to add to PolicyMap, you can add the points directly or you can upload them from a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet of public high schools. I'm going to choose to share it with myself. You can share it with your colleagues or the general public. And you can choose which icon you want to create or put in this point level data. And you can even color code it. And I'm going to choose, here we go, my public high school Broward County spreadsheet. And it's going to confirm, these are the columns that need to be used for geocoding. So address, city, state, and zip code data. And then I have other columns within my spreadsheet. And I need to say whether or not they're text or number or whatever they are. So students is a number, excuse me. And, oh, maybe it was because of my number. Let's try this again. Let's make it all text. And PolicyMap will geocode your data. I quickly uploaded 70 points. You can upload up to 10,000 points, and that will that comes free with your service. So here, a lot of our colleges and universities actually use this as an inexpensive geocoder. So it's a good way to get the lat and longitude data for any of your data that you have as well. And so you can see that this is here. I can save and close it. I can download the points. I can add them. I can even set access to fields. And all these points are going to show up. That's actually too big, I think. I'm going to make that small. That's better. And let's zoom in a little bit. And now I could do this for anything that I have point level data for. So if you do have illnesses, then yes, you can go ahead and you can add any of your point level data to PolicyMap. And it's pretty simple and easy. So from here, that's how you use the data loader. Now, there's also something called the 3-layer map. And really, this is a way for you as a researcher to go in and find a hotspot or find an area that meets your criteria. So maybe you're looking for an area that has a large number of, let me see, people who are 75 or older, or let's say 65 or older. And you'll notice here there's a slider, so you can play with it. So I want there to be, let's see, at least 20% people 65 and older. So you can see where this would be a nice marketing tool. Maybe you're going to look at per capita income. And here you want them to have at least 65,000. And again, I'm playing that out. And maybe I'm looking for housing. Let's see, median value, homes by value, homes. Let's say and again, we have the purple areas are showing you where it's right. Again, I'm messing around with my mouse and it's causing trouble. And here, at least, so here when I click on any of these purple areas, it's going to give me the value for each. So here we have a spot where the percent of the population is 65 and older is at least 20%. And here the per capita income is 88,000. And the percent of homes, $750,000 or more, is 46%. So this is a way for you to go in and really find a hot spot. You can do it, you know, something a little less, you can go ahead and look at maybe, let me see, non-white. We're going to remove those indicators. Oh, I need to remove an indicator. I'm sorry. Let's go in and start over again. So there are lots of different ways that you can play with this data, and you can create different 3-layer maps. But if you'll notice here, if I'd wanted to go in, I was trying to find, let me see, non-white, and then maybe I wanted to look at veterans. And again, I can say 20%. 15%. And it looks like I found something that didn't have anything. So again, I can fool around with this, maybe 5%. And that's more helpful. So that gives you an idea. There are some really, really nice applications for PolicyMap. And one of the things that I wanted to show you as well is When you go to our main PolicyMap page, so here's our data directory, and we looked at that, but let's go to our main PolicyMap page. If you take a look at our academic webpage, this gives you access to some nice background information. So information about how other colleges and universities are using PolicyMap either in the classroom or as a research tool. And it gives you information about, well, this is actually a really great video from a University of Delaware professor who uses PolicyMap to teach environmental injustice. So he uses it within the city of Wilmington, Delaware to find some hot spots and to look for things. We also have a video of a professor from Seton Hall who is a Master's of Health Administration professor, and they use it to map community health within the classroom. And they used it basically because the university wanted the students to be looking at and analyzing the data right away without having to spend a semester to learn a mapping tool. And these professors were kind enough to, to record some sessions and give some pointers on how it's being used within their classroom. But it's also not just being used within the classroom, it's being used within libraries for reference, as a reference tool to answer questions, to get census data. And as a matter of fact, quite a few government agencies come directly to PolicyMap to use our data because it's been cleaned up and standardized, and you can take the data from different sources and look at it in one place. So I wanted to point out this page to you because you'll see there's a sample syllabus, there's some webinars, there's some library guides that come from different schools, so you can see exactly where it's being used and how it's being used. In fact, the USC uses PolicyMap within their journalism class so that when they're writing about a community, they can include the data from our tables and from maps and embed them within their work. So I wanted to show you that so that you knew that you had that as a tool. And we also do have, in addition to having our data team and anyone who you talk to, we have a lot of videos and help guides online here as well. So I wanted to show you that. So I'm wondering if anybody has other questions. I feel like I might have gone really fast today, and I was just trying to give you an overview. I do want you to know that if you have questions, you have my email address because I know I sent you too many messages today about the time of our meeting, but please feel free to reach out to me or to my colleagues on our help desk, and they can answer questions about specific data. I know that, or I am assuming that you all are supporting different areas within Nova Southeastern, so you have different interests when it comes to the actual data that's here. But really the easiest thing for you to do is to go in and look around and see what's there and find out exactly what you have access to when you're in here. So a lot of the health data is very unique and very interesting. The data for schools and school performance is very interesting for education and for people who are studying to be leaders within education. Here's attainment information. So quickly and easily we find areas with less than a 9th grade education. Oops, I'm sorry again, apologies. And I can use this slider to find areas with veterans, non-white veterans with less than a 9th grade education. I can also find, here's another interesting data point that's here, libraries. Because who doesn't love libraries? I can see what's there, if it's a central branch, if it's a bookmobile. and it gives me information. It even gives me the hours. And it's very, there are lots and lots of different data sets here that you can play with and see what's there. In fact, we're finding that we have more and more people who are looking at this housing data and housing quality, whether or not houses have plumbing facilities or kitchen facilities, the home heating fuel type. We're finding that a lot of people within the home industry and the housing industry are looking at this data as well. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay, there's a message from T. Lucas Holler. I use a Mac and my colleagues use a PC, and they are really, I really don't notice any difference. Really, to get, it's pretty user friendly, but you do need to play with it for a little bit before you're able to move around. If you want it, I'm happy to work with you to see if we can't get you a smoother experience or figure out what's happening. Great. All right, I'm wondering if anybody has any other questions. If not, oh, if you create a map and upload it to a website, will you have to pay? No, that's included. There are some data sets that you won't be able to print, and there'll be a warning there, and you'll be able to see. There is some data that, like for instance, let me see. Oh, I know, some of this education data that's here, school performance coming from great schools, they won't allow you to publish their data. But no, you wouldn't have to pay if you're creating a map and uploading it to a website. All right, I think that perhaps I've covered many points. I'm sure I haven't covered them all. But like I said, I'm certainly happy to work with anyone, and I can show you, you're welcome, Susan. I can show you just one more really cool map because I like maps. Here's some of the interesting things that you can find here. One of our recent blogs, and you should hopefully subscribe to our blog or take a look at it, was family data, and that was household type. And we've recently added grandparents responsible for grandchildren as, and we can just look at that as a regular map, not a 3-layer map. Did I lose that? I think I lost it. That's one of our cool maps. And again, just poke around and see what's there. But like I said, I'll talk to Susan and see how much longer we'll keep the trial running, and hopefully it will be a helpful resource for you. Thank you all. Have a great day.